shouting the battle cry of freedom. The Union forever, hurrah, boys, hurrah. Down with the traitors, up with the stars. We will reel around the flag, boys, and relay once again, shouting the battle cry of freedom.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Uncut History here on Now Productions. And boy, I am very tired. I need water. I need water. We got fire trucks flying down the road. That's not good. Very not good. Not good at all. How is everybody doing this evening? I'm completely banged up and just the life has been sucked from me. That's the only way to describe it, but I'm going to try to persevere. We're going to talk tonight about monuments. That's the title, monuments. I don't know what else to label this as. And we'll talk a little bit about what's going on here behind the scenes on Readout Productions. But first, Wrangler, of course, starting us off. He's very kind and gives us a 420, but he has given us a 1420, which requires this. And also this.
$10, a lot of money.
Thank you very much, Wrangler, for supporting tonight's stream and supporting the shenanigans that we do here, trying to educate you about our shared past. Yeah, I know what I said, educate. In any case, monuments. So I saw an image on the Twitter earlier this week of all the places I should be mentally at this time of year. Twitter is not a good place to be, but I saw, actually it was one of our close followers, A.S. Burnett, was posting stuff relating to the National World War I Memorial, which is set to get its final piece installed, I think in September September. If I'm not mistaken. I know the most recent update I've gotten is that the bas relief, which is the centerpiece of the memorial, just got shipped out of England. It's apparently on its way to the United States. So hopefully we get that very soon. We'll talk more about that memorial. But that's what touched off this whole subject matter. In Skunk's Workshop, he is here to learn and work and educate us Americans. Yes, I will do that. So yeah, National World War I Memorial, finally nearing completion. Now, it's not actually on the National Mall. What it is, it's actually a little bit off a ways north of the National Mall. It's like cul-de-sac area. But you would think this would be a monument that was put up in the 1920s or 30s to commemorate those that were lost in the Great War and the sacrifices that veterans made in the Great War when many of those veterans were still around. No, it was not dedicated in 1931. It was dedicated in 2021, and it's still an ongoing process. It is a drama. And probably if I am a more intelligent content creator, I would make a lovely video breaking down the controversies of trying to get a memorial to the Great War in our nation's capital. But in any case, you're going to get the dazed version, the dazed, hilarious, off-the-cuff version right now. In short, the Great War, World War I, fought between 1914 and 1918, and the United States of America would officially declare war on Germany in 1917, and most of their troops, which would be in the American Expeditionary Force, they would come across in 1918. Most of the American involvement was really the final year of the war, but the lack of years we were involved with, we made up for in casualties. And I'm typing stuff out here. I was not intelligente, and I did not get us ready for some images. So I'm trying to do that over here. Okay, we got that up. All right, I got the page up. I'm now very happy now. In total, I think we had 100,000 casualties, killed, wounded, and missing that the United States suffered for its involvement in the Great War. And that was just in 1 year. Less than a year, really. There were some small units that were out there in 1917, but the bulk of it was in 1918, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, so we were involved relatively briefly in the Great War, but we did suffer some enormous losses. And of course, the international involvement of the Great War would lead to the worldwide influenza pandemic in 1918 and 1919 that followed and claimed far, far more lives thereafter. So, yeah, our brief involvement into the Great War had far reaching consequences for our country and the whole world. And no monument, no national war memorial, and there's many reasons to this. For one, not by the time that the public would have been willing to do a monument. I mean, nobody really wanted to think about a war in the 1920s. Everybody wanted to do many other things. And of course, we had our whole wonders with prohibition that preoccupied us. And then by the time we were of age where we were willing to talk openly about the Great War, the Great Depression hit. So if you wanted to have a monument, there was no financial backing there, especially not with any state or federal government. And then the Second World War happened in the 1940s, and that was where everybody's attention went. And you could argue there was this philosophy of what's the point of commemorating the Great War because it didn't solve anything. All those guys died in vain. Why would we commemorate them? So nobody really considered actually having a memorial for the Great War. Really, talk only really began again in the 1950s and the 1960s. There was a proposal to revamp the District of Columbia's War Memorial as a national World War I memorial, but that didn't really go anywhere. Then, of course, in Kansas, eventually, I forget when it actually had opened. It was in the latter half of the 20th century. You eventually had a massive monument erected in Kansas for World War I. And then many people it actually is called the National World War I Museum and Memorial. So there was many talk about, well, why don't we just commemorate the national memorial to this war? The building's already there. Let's just let Kansas have it. But that didn't happen. Eventually, there would be a park dedicated in Washington, D.C. For General Pershing, not for the whole World War I, but for General Pershing and his involvement in commanding the AEF in 1918. And that was talked about in the 1960s, and then Congress kicked around the funding throughout the 1970s. And it wasn't until, I think, 1983, it was in the early 80s when General Pershing Park actually got dedicated, any form of commemoration on the Great War. And I'm going to go up a little quickly. Was the World War II memorial already in construction in D.C. by that point? Was it already finished? No, not the District of Columbia Memorial. We were already talking about that. The National World War II Memorial. Oh, no. Okay, much later, 2004. Okay. So yeah, it's going to look very egregious if the National World War II Memorial was dedicated before the Great War Memorial, which still happened. But yeah, I'm going off a tangent. So there was all this back and forth. They eventually got a park dedicated to the commander of the American soldiers, but not a park that was truly for the average American person who made their sacrifice in the Great War. It really wasn't until the death of the last American World War I veteran, which was in 2008, I want to say, was when finally the public pressure was there to, hey, this final veteran passed away, and he didn't get to see a single commemoration for the sacrifices he and his generation made. That's a little messed up, federal government. Maybe we should correct that. So then there were talks, okay, let's do it. Let's finally get the National World War I Memorial in Washington, D.C. going. And then you had all sorts of commissions, rival committees fighting for the rights to develop this memorial. There was a National World War I Memorial Foundation that was trying many years to get one set up. Then when we get to 2014, you're going to have the formation of the World War I Centennial Commission, and really they'll be the ones that ultimately are in charge with creating the National World War I Memorial. But that was in 2014, and of course they went through the whole process of trying to find the right design to commemorate this memorial, and they eventually landed on a design that had a number of features, and we can actually take a virtual tour of the memorial here very soon, so that'll be a lot of fun. I'll show you those features. Actually, if I could welcome to the I'm on I'm on the national park page while we're talking. So several features were involved, timeline of all of the major campaigns that occurred in 1918 that the United States was involved with during the Great War. That's a part of the memorial's design. Pershing statue was incorporated, and ultimately it was decided that Pershing Park would be where it would be rechristened the National World War I Memorial. There's some beef about that. Many people wanted it to be right on the National Plaza, just like the World War II Memorial is, but they wanted to keep it the Pershing Park. So here we are today. And before I continue let me take you over to see the World War I Memorial. So this is the National Park Service website. All of your monuments and war memorials that are on the National Plaza, they are administered by the National Park Service. And then I guess we just go and welcome to the National World War I Memorial. I will read the National Park Service lingo on it. The centennial of World War I provided the opportunity to give long overdue recognition to America's 4.7 million sons and daughters who served in the war to end all wars. The site eventually chosen for the new memorial was Pershing Park, originally home of the American Expeditionary Forces Memorial, dedicated in 1981, 81, to honor the American forces who served in Europe during the war and named for their commander, General Pershing. In 2020, the memorial was expanded to honor not just the AEF, but all Americans who served, including sailors, Coast Guardsmen, men, women in uniform who did not serve in Europe, and those who served in civilian capacity. John Weishar retained the major element of the AEF memorial, which included a statue of Pershing and a 10-foot-high wall containing 2 battle maps with appropriate inscriptions, were retained as part of the World War I memorial and added new features. The memorial centerpiece is Sabin Howard's sculpture, A Soldier's Journey, based on the myth of the hero's journey and representing the American experience of World War I. On the reverse of the sculpture is the Peace Fountain, a cascade of water flowing over lines from the poem, The Young Dead Soldiers. The poem is a call to remember those killed in war and give meaning to their sacrifice. Is by Archibald MacLeish, an artillery captain in the war who later won 3 Pulitzer Prizes and served as a Librarian of Congress. The Belvedere is the conceptual center of the memorial and provides a commanding view of the memorial's elements. The Pershing Memorial to the left, Soldier's Journey directly ahead, and the flagstaff with a quote of one of the worst presidents to ever be around, and others to the right. No, I'm always going to roast Wilson when I have an opportunity. I am campaigning to keep us out of this brutal war that has no end in sight. Never mind, we are going to get involved in that war with no brutal end in sight. The poem, I'm reading too far ahead. The interpretive panels along the Belvedere Wall describe American accomplishments in the war, the roles played by Americans of all backgrounds, and the legacy of the war. The center medallion depicts the figure of winged victory portrayed on the medals awarded to the AEF and other Allied forces. Inscribed on the front of the wall are the names of the major campaigns for which Army and Navy units are awarded battle honors. So yeah, there we are. So there's part of the Peace Fountain. Whether our lives and our deaths were for peace and a new hope, or for nothing we cannot say, it is you who must say this. They say, we leave you our deaths, give them their meaning. We were young, they say, we have died, remember us. All right. And if I go over here, we can go to the National World War I Memorial tour. Yeah, we're just going to do it this way. Yeah, we're just doing it old school, guys. There are no brain cells in this noggin tonight. Federal government messed up? No, never. When would they ever mess up? Except that one time, and that other time, and that time this morning. And this is actually, I'll take a detour. So we're talking about the National World War I Memorial, but this is the National World War I Museum and Memorial in Kansas City. So yeah, it can get a little confusing asking what's the true National Memorial. The National Memorial is really just the long overdue recognition in our nation's capital, where if you want to learn truly in detail about the conflict, you go to Kansas City to see the National World War I Museum. All right. Kansas City, Missouri. Okay, so it's in Kansas City, Missouri, not Kansas itself. Come on, guys. I'm tired. Now, earlier today, I was playing with the. Oh, here it is. The American. Okay, yep, the ABMC. All right, come on, dude. All right, overview. Yep, we could do the virtual tour. It actually plays some music when you do it. I don't think it'll be playing for you guys, but it does play. So yeah, this is through the ABMC, which is the governing body for national soldiers' national cemeteries around the world. Not all of them, but a select amount, particularly involving the World Wars. The American Battlefield Monuments Commission. Yep. So here we are in Pershing Park, which has now been rechristened after so many. Oh wow, you can't even see what I'm sharing you. How about that? This is just this is the stream to ever stream. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry I'm failing you. I'm sorry. Here we are. Okay, so this is the American Battlefield Monuments Commission's virtual tour of the National World War I Memorial in Washington, D.C. As I said, we're not actually on the National Plaza. We're kind of just north of it. I'm gonna keep spinning you around till y'all throw up your lunches. There you go. Okay, we're all good? Okay, we're all good. So keep in mind, this spot was never intended to be a national monument, but it was decided in 2014 it was going to be, and they done a pretty decent job of converting it. So if you go over here, this is the older part. This is the old Pershing part, which breaks down the Western Front, where the Allied Expeditionary Force went, and of course, most famously, the Meuse-Argonne Offensive, which was the campaign that effectively brought the Great War to an end. It was also, the Meuse-Argonne campaign is actually the deadliest campaign the United States military was ever involved with. So let that sink in. If you remember in the spring, we did our Overland campaign series for the American Civil War. That's what's considered the costliest campaign of lives in the American Civil War. The Meuse-Argonne trumps everything that came before since. It was awful. They were fighting in a forested region. When it was over, there was no forest. You may have seen the photographs of how bad the whole thing was stripped bare, an alien planet it looked like by the end. But over here is the monument dedicated in 1981 to General John Pershing. Then we can go to it at nighttime. Oh, it's pretty. It's pretty at nighttime. We head back over here. Can I zoom in by chance? I cannot. Oh, what did I do? Where am I at? I am lost. Help. I'm lost in the World War I Memorial. Also over here, we have the Memorial Eagle. You see they're in the process of planting trees. World War I Memorial. And there we are. Oh, did you see it earlier? I think it was actually... Was the water actually flowing? Oh, now I got to go back over. Now I must see it. Oh, here we are. Give you a bit of an overview. Oh, here we are. Sorry, for a moment, it looked like the water was flowing on the fountain, but there we are with the Peace Fountain, with McLeish's famous quote. Oh, what else can we see? That's the World War II Memorial. That's a story for another day. Now, you'll notice here, we talked earlier about the centerpiece of the memorial being a bas-relief, and you can see there's nothing there but there's a cutout there, but it's definitely not made of bronze or anything. This is the placement that's been there since, I think, 2021 when they dedicated the monument. I gotta go show you photographs of the final product of the bas-relief, because it really elevates this memorial. I would say if the bas-relief wasn't there, this would be a very rushed and poor dedication to the veterans and sacrifices of World War I. But there is a lovely bas-relief being made called The Soldier's Journey. All right, we go over here. I'm so lost. I really do not like Brave's. Brave got a search engine. I really don't like it. It never gives me what I want. It's very frustrating. How you guys doing tonight? How brain dead am I tonight? On a scale of 1 to 10, how brain dead is Readout Productions? Let me know in the chat and the comments. You ain't going to hurt my feelings because I feel very brain dead. Okay, where do I find... Because I want to see the image of the final product. Oh, no, I don't want to go back over there. A Soldier's Journey, World War I. Maybe good old Google will help me on this. All right. All right, we're going to go to Realism Today. I need some realism in my life. No, I have too much realism. I need some escapism, truth be told. All right, so let's do this again. I could just watch all the viewers going down. Like this is what I paid for. Just this stream of this guy gibbering. Here we are. This is the This is Mr. Howard's what's going to be the centerpiece of the National World War I Memorial. This sprawling bas relief, which from left to right, what it's designed to do with these larger than life size figures is to show the American experience involved in the Great War. You see, you know, the husband or the son going off to war from the family being called to duty. Then you can see them charging through the horrors of the Meuse-Argonne offensive and, of course, other aspects of the Western Front, becoming shell-shocked, getting horrible health issues in the trenches. And of course, you also go to see, which I'm pretty surprised by, several depictions of women the whole way through the journey, not just the start, but the whole way through. So they're not just being kept at the bookends as being the wives and the daughters, but you're actually going to see their active role as nurses and doing jobs back in the home front. We, of course, always think of the Second World War as, you know, when all the women, Rosie the Riveter type characters, they take charge. We always get this myth that this has never happened before in history. It happened during the Great War as well. It wasn't as long a length of time, but same thing happened during the Great War. When the men went off to fight, you're going to have women get involved in the factories. I mean, the same thing happened in the American Civil War as well. It's not so many myths that were taught. Oh, this is the first time this happened, that happened. No, they tend to repeat in history. It's just that event was in recent memory, so we view it as the first time. But anyways, so it's a very, very, very comprehensive overview of America's involvement in the Great War. It's huge. It's a huge bas relief. It's the hugest I've ever seen in my life. I don't think it's actually the biggest, but when it's currently, according to my knowledge, being shipped right now in the Atlantic Ocean, somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, this bas relief, and I hope the heaviest of duty packaging is making its way safely over, and then it'll be dedicated sometime this September in the center of the National World War I Memorial. So at least we got some things to look forward to before, you know, Election Day, before the political ads get 10 times worse. Well, thank you for tuning in, Wrangler. I understand. I have plenty of work to get done too. When I actually just got done, did college, worked 7 hours. How long did I work? 7, 8 hours. Worked my hour. Worked, came home, college. Then I started finishing up the newest edition of Retracing History, and then I looked like, oh, it's 7:25. We got to go get streaming. Got to go right now. And here we are now at 7:55. I need a drink. So yeah, that's the National World War I Memorial. Highly looking forward to it. I don't know if I'll ever go down to DC to see it. Nothing. I'd love to see the monument, but that requires me to go in the heart of Washington DC, and me don't do so well in metropolis areas. No, me no do good in large city environments. I need the open road. But yeah, looking forward to that. There is the reason I really ended up doing this tonight and why I didn't just call this the National World War I stream. So there's been a trend over the past couple decades, when it comes to war memorials or monuments commemorating historic events. We've definitely saw the backlash of your classical statues in bronze, and to a credit, there was a rightful backlash because it was getting to a point where war was being so glorified to such an extent that it was so disconnecting with the public's opinion of war. And you may know where I'm leading to this. 1982, the Vietnam War Memorial was dedicated in Washington, D.C., which was a very different war memorial. Instead of having statues, it is a simple wall of names, which is designed to look like you took a knife into the earth and cut out a big gash, showing the wound that the war left on the United States of America. It's quite possibly the most iconic war memorial in the country, maybe second only to the Marine Corps Memorial because of the Iwo Jima flag raising. But I think on its own, the Vietnam War Memorial may be the one people are most recognize. That, in my opinion, really changed the game on how we did monuments, because thereafter you saw a lot more simplistic ones, which was great because people will accept a very simple wall of names and be moved by it. Perfect. That allowed a lot of small communities to start putting up war memorials. That allowed a lot of regional areas to put up war memorials. Actually, we went to see the last year we did a video on retracing history about Confederate state monuments that are at Gettysburg. The last one ever done was of Tennessee. It was also done in 1982. And initially they had this idea for a very grand, almost Iwo Jima flag raising of the Tennessee state flag. It was a little bit excessive. Instead, they decided a more simplistic approach would be just a block of stone and then do the etching of the flag on the side. And I actually really enjoy the monument. Very basic, simplistic. And that was the same year the Vietnam War Memorial was dedicated. So this caused a paradigm shift in how the United States of America made war memorials or other monuments for historic events. They went for a more simplistic approach because, well, it was more economically efficient and really brought everything down to a human level. However, here we are in the 2020s, and, well, the modernism has gotten a little bit ridiculous. I think I ranted about before the Martin Luther King Jr. monument that went up in Boston back in 2023. You know, the embrace, the infamous embrace, which the internet had a field day with because, yes, the Embrace monument looks like a turd. I'm sorry. It's not visually appealing. It looked great, maybe in model form, but in final depiction, it's like, yeah, this is not good when you have it on, when you're underneath the eye level. It's one thing when it's on the desk. And that's just a case in point example of and I hate the word freaking modernism. I hate words involving modern, because what's modern today is not going to be modern 50 years down the pipeline, let alone 10 years down the pipeline. So, yeah. So, anyways, we definitely had a paradigm shift, I feel, with the Vietnam War Memorial, where we decided we did not want to have these grandiose monuments for fear that they would glorify war. And instead, we went for the much more humbler, simplistic route, which is great. But then the humbler, simplistic route became a bit of an eldritch horror when you get to stuff like the Embrace and everything's getting very abstract. And at the end of the day, I'm a nincompoop on the internet who has no brain cells at the moment, and I'm talking about the Embrace in the same breath as the Vietnam War Memorial. That is a terrible thing. That's going to get me ratioed and canceled. Oh no, what a nightmare. But what I'm trying to say is, we had our paradigm shift, and then we kept going on this new trek, and now it's time for another paradigm shift because we've run that trek deep, deep into the ground. And it's interesting, we have the National World War I Memorial about to get its centerpiece. And it's going to be this massive, it's involving these larger than life figures and statues, just like you would expect this monument to have been created if it was done when the veterans were still around in the 1920s and the 1930s. If they had their time to breathe and speak about really get out there and speak about their involvement in the Great War before it all kind of got drowned out by the Second World War and everybody just forgot about what the Great War was all about. So I'm wondering are we going to see more as we go on and we have more memorials dedicated, especially as we're getting to that point now. We are commemorating the War on Terror. We last year actually had one of the leading members of a War on Terror memorial called Patriot Park, not far from where I am in I guess you want to say, it's still technically Western Pennsylvania. Stoystown, Pennsylvania is. It's not it's not necessarily a very simplistic monument where it's just a wall of names. What it is actually very, very human involved. The staff there have to go out every spring and lay down all 7,000 flags to represent one for one the fatalities that were suffered by American forces in the War on Terror. And then, of course, those flags have to be taken down meticulously in the fall so they don't get destroyed in the winter. And initially, they had a plan for a permanent like wall of names. And now we got a motorcycle. First we had fire trucks. Now we got motorcycles out there. Initially, they were going to have like a pentagon-shaped wall of names. The most recent draft I've seen of the finalized memorial is actually keeping this field of honor. So it's not a glorifying of war, but it's definitely more involved than a simple wall of names or some abstract artwork that humanity cannot decipher. And if you say you can't decipher it, then you're evil type mentality. That's what the internet tells me. So I'm curious about the future when we get to these monuments being created. Are we going to just keep doing the modernist approach, especially because our economy is not doing well and it's going to get very bad very quickly, I feel, especially with the looming horrific election? Or are we going to see a very creative approach where we're going to see the return of larger than life statues? But now we are adults here. We can understand that just because it's a large statue, we're not trying to glorify necessarily the horrific stuff, but we're trying to commemorate how the feats they did. We cannot fully comprehend in the 21st century. I mean, when we talk about people like in the Second World War or the Great War, we read about all of their feats, and you just read her going, for us, that would be the most intense experience to be in. And for them, that one moment was a Tuesday to them. There was a lot more that went on in their lives than just that one moment. It wasn't a one-day battle. That was their life for a year and a half. So I think we're going to see more. I think we're going to see embracing. I think we're going to see the embracing of the older style monuments coming in the future. I think a lot of people are done with the the idea of modern being very basic. It's economically efficient, but also there gets to a point where it's just like we're getting so abstract, trying to be so simplistic that what we're seeing is unhuman in some of these monuments. It's like, okay, you're critiquing these monuments for, glorifying horrific events and making these people larger than life, larger than human. But then you have this over here and we cannot decipher it. And it's almost creepy. It's borderline alien and creepy and devoid of humanity. So I don't know where I'm rambling here. I'm just saying, I think when it comes to monuments being created in the future, you're definitely going to see people want to have human interaction with them, like how Patriot Park requires the staff to go out, put the flags in, put the flags out. There is a human element which really hammers home the losses that were suffered in a 20-year period during the War on Terror. It really hammers home to people, future generations, that they never, they'll never understand what it was like to be at 9/11 or to hear about the, invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan, or even most recently, eventually we're going to, a decade now, we'll have a generation that won't even know about the evacuation of Afghanistan, which was our generation's equivalent to the evacuation of Saigon. If we couldn't figure out what was it like for Americans when Saigon fell, well, we did it. We let Kabul fall, and now we figured out how that suffered. So these monuments that involve interaction, involve a human touch, a literal human touch to it. I think those are the monuments that will last longest coming in the future. And if that means, hey, this guy went in detail to carve how many were in that bas relief for the World War I memorial? I see we have some people like Trippy Soul tune in. We haven't seen you in a while, Trippy. Thank you for tuning in. James Esparza from World Without End is here. Of course, Skunk's Workshop's hanging out. Since we got some new guys, let me show you the bas relief that's being made for the World War I memorial. And what I'm trying to get at is, when you look at it, you can see the human interaction, the human influence that was put in on this monument. Look at it. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. And just got back there. 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 38 individuals made in this massive bas relief. Wow. We're not talking just about like like 3 or 5 soldiers. This is 38 individuals. That is impressive. And to think that is all being carved by hand or with hand tools. I want more of this when we're commemorating our shared past. People are going to be far more willing to engage with this than a squiggle that's looks like a turd. So yeah. Also, want to mention, kind of related to this, we do have some new statues going up in the rotunda in the U.S. Capitol building. Of course, there was the whole controversy over, oh no, many of these statues, did you know they're related to slaveholders? To which everybody went, yeah, that was most of the country before 1865. Unfortunate, but true. Well, we got to get rid of them all, and we got to replace them with stuff that's with current day, more more in tune with the current day of our country. Okay, and then sometimes you always get worried because they do pick figures that probably do rightfully deserve recognition, but I would argue they're also just as obscure as the person that replaced him. No disrespect to them. It's just like, okay, replace that obscure figure and we put another obscure figure up. However, Arkansas, one of their 2 statues that they took down their 2 statues a few years ago and are putting 2 new ones up. The one is going to be devoted to Johnny Cash, which is just freaking awesome that there is for future generations. There's going to be a larger than life statue of Johnny Cash staring down at you when you walk into the U.S. Capitol building. That is that's one of the best moves that any politician or anybody with government funding has made in years. Yes. Why did we not think about this sooner? So I have a new movement. All right, if we're going to play this role, we're replacing the statues in the Capitol building. Then I think then we definitely should get all the highwaymen in there. I think we can get all the highwaymen in there. Can we not? Can we not? All right. So Cash is born in Arkansas. Okay, Christopherson's born in Texas. Okay, we can get him in there. Is everybody else born in Texas? Oh no, everybody else is born in Texas. Oh no, and Waylon's Texas too. Oh no. Oh no. Well, okay. Does it have to be the state that they're born in? Okay, so we can't get all 4 highwaymen into the U.S. Capitol building because 3 of the 4 are born in Texas, if Texas claimed them all. However, how long were these guys living in Tennessee when they were doing their big hits? And I believe Waylon had a period of time where he lived in Arizona. So couldn't Arizona claim him? Oh, see, we can fix it now. Chris and Willie can be Texas new statues, and then we'll allow Arizona to adopt Jennings for a while. And then, yep, we could have the highwaymen in the U.S. Capitol building. This is, if I become elected as a congressman, this will be my mission in life. I think it's fair. I think it's fair. Oh, we need that too. Yes, we could do that too. Actually, we need a larger than life George Carlin statue. In California. I'd be more. What is California's current statues? Actually, that's making me wonder now. Okay, we're going down this rabbit hole. Capitol building statues. Since we're going to replace them, we're going to place them with the right people. We're not trading one obscure figure for an obscure feature. I'm gonna pick them with the right people. All right. Statues by state. Oh, beautiful. The U.S. Capitol building. Hey, some of my taxpayer dollars is going to a world of good. A nice encyclopedia on everything I want to know tonight. All right. Let me get this up. Here we are. See, this is when the stream gets fun. All right, so this is the list of statues by state. Here we are. First, I do want to see what California's is, because if Carlin was born in California, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, Reagan is, of course, one. Ooh, Miguel Jose Serra. I want to keep him. I don't want to replace him. I mean, I'm all for Catholicism being in the rotunda. Spanish missionaries, yep. Spanish missionaries in the New World, born in Majorca, 1713. He joined the Franciscan order. At the age of 16, he soon gained prominence as an elegant preacher and eventually became a professor of theology. His dream was to become a missionary to America. He arrived in Mexico City in 1750 to begin a new life. He established present-day site of San Diego, the first in a number that would include San Antonio, San Bonaventure, San Carlos, San Francisco de Asís, San Gabriel, San Juan Capistrano, San Luis Obispo, and Santa Carla. Did you like that, Trippy? How well did I butcher those? So, I mean, can we replace Reagan? Oh, Joseph Wheeler is apparently still in there. Well, Joseph Wheeler, he ends up, people always wonder why does Joseph Wheeler get a statue? He's a Confederate. He fought for the slave country. Well, keep in mind, he did a lot for the U.S. Army. He got involved with the U.S. Army during the Spanish-American War. He's also just one of them characters in history where it's just like, look, I wouldn't like him, but he's almost like a Teddy Roosevelt level of like, look, I don't like his attitude, but man, but I do like Roosevelt's attitude on things. Oh, Helen Keller's also Alabama's at her statue. I wonder if she replaced anybody. That's an interesting pick. All right, so yeah, going down through, you can see all of the statues. All the statues that we have currently in the U.S. Capitol building. Roger Sherman, Trumbull, Clayton Rodney, Georgia, Long, and Stevens. I know Stevens is getting replaced, and that one I actually agree with. Yeah, Stevens was the vice president for the Confederacy, and boy, you don't want to listen to his rhetoric. No, his rhetoric, no good, not appropriate in the 21st century, not even appropriate in the 19th century, I would argue. Ooh, look at Hawaii got. Father Damin and Kamehameha. Did I say that right? We need the ultimate kahuna here tonight. I'm just having fun. See, this is the fun stuff, and this is what monuments should do. They make you start a conversation. They are conversation starters about a historic character. Because then I want to go in and read all these guys. Like Iowa got Norman E. Borlaug. Let's read about him. Dr. Norman E. Borlaug is called the father of the Green Revolution because of his work to increase food production and combat world hunger. From the 1940s through the 60s, this Green Revolution advanced agriculture production by developing and distributing improved grain, seeds, fertilizer, and pesticides. Expanded irrigation and modernizing agricultural management. It has been credited with saving as many as 1 billion people from starvation. Very interesting. And then we also have Samuel Jordan Kirkwood. Amelia Earhart with Kansas. Eisenhower, of course, with Kansas. Kentucky got Henry Clay. I swear, the longest running runner-up for president in history. He really does just deserve a video onto his own. I had somebody request a while ago about would I do a video about, who I would elect for president from, up to the Civil War. That's a daunting task. Wouldn't say I'm never up to that task, but not when I'm in college and rotting my brain. After I get my funny paper and have time to do proper research, yes, I'd be really eager to that, because I'm wondering where Henry Clay would lie, because man, that guy ran so many times. So many different schemes he came up with to try to keep the compromise going between the free and slave states, and of course he never got elected because nobody was going to go with him. But yeah, Coronado Landing here is San Diego. We have a lot of missions here in SoCal. I have heard, people completely underestimate California's history. I've had people come up, I've had people that were visiting in Pennsylvania, and they've come from California and say, wow, our history doesn't go back that far. And I'm like, excuse me, what? You got the Spanish, colonizing over there. And that was before the English, or just about the time period of the English. That was going on, if concurrently, if not slightly before when I talk about my historic time periods, which usually the earliest I go into in depth is the French and Indian War period of the 18th century. So, yeah, Californians, you got a lot of history. I promise you. It won't look like the East Coast because it's not the East Coast, but it's going back equally deep, and that's not accounting the indigenous history as well. So people greatly underestimate what's in their backyards. Did I put up your comment? I believe I did. Go down a little bit far. Huey Long still in Louisiana. That's interesting. Maine got Hannibal Hamlin. Of course, he was the vice president for President Lincoln in the 1860 election. John Hanson. But yeah, I want to put the Highwaymen in U.S. Capitol Rotunda. We're going to put George Carlin in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda. Lewis Kiss, Minnesota. Mississippi, Jefferson Davis, James Eckert George. Truman. Because I feel to an extent, this is an argument I'm going to make, just going through. Do you feel that there should be a law when it comes, not a law, there should be a law in the sand, I feel that presidents should not be getting monuments in the U.S. Capitol unless they did something else. Now, I understand if they did other things, and I know a lot of them did, but that's just my personal opinion. Like, I'm presuming, was Truman was a representative at one point, right? That would count then, right? Oh yeah, he was a senator. Okay. I don't know though. I feel you could do a lot more. I feel like being president, like you've peaked. Everybody's gonna know your name. I understand you did a lot before being president, but I don't know. I kind of I understand why they're in here because they did work serve in the U.S. Capitol. But if we're gonna put people in there that weren't in the U.S. Capitol, like Amelia Earhart wasn't in the U.S. Capitol, then I feel we should also put a rule that okay, if you have a president, come on, you're gonna have a 15 million other statues of them in your own state or around D.C. or stuff. Let's give us. Well, in that case, then Roosevelt is 100% allowed. Nobel Peace Prize, Medal of Honor, Roosevelt. So I don't know. I want to make a rule there because, like, let's read about Jeanette Rankin. Rankin here. I came to vote for war. Yep. First woman elected to Congress. Fair enough. And if I'm not mistaken, she's also. I think she's the one that abstained. Yeah, she's the one that abstained from entry in either of the world wars. And she made a fair argument. As a woman, I can't go to war. I refuse to send someone else. Man, I wish we had representatives and senators that believed that when they were about to make us do something. Nah, they won't do it boldly. They won't boldly declare war. They'll just do the backhand deal. So then they wipe their hands clean and said, see, I'm not guilty. I didn't send you to your deaths. You know, we just maneuvered it around and, you know, you volunteered and, you know, you're suffering because of this. And, you know, it's not technically my fault. I may need to stop streaming soon. I'm getting angry. I'm getting angry about politics. We're very close to having Redoutenheimer live on air. Why not a statue of every American citizen who elected these individuals? I would be down for that, except there would be no room. So yeah, I definitely recommend checking this out. This is a very interesting. Oh, freaking Edison! Did I? No. I don't like Edison. I think you guys all pretty much figured out pretty early and pretty clearly that I am always a Tesla over Edison guy. That I'm petty. What can I say? I'm petty on a lot of historical matters. Some days when you tune into Uncut History, you get a very eloquent, historical, lecture. Especially when we do our battles, when we talk about our battles in the American Civil War, and I try to give people as much respect as possible. And there's other days when I have no brain cells, and I really don't give a crap. And I'm just going to have fun. And everybody can get upset in the comment section, to which I'll respond with, just repeat to yourself, it's just a show. I should really just relax. For Mystery Science Feeder 3000. Unrelated. Garfield. I really want to do stuff on James Garfield. Well, first of all, the whole state of Ohio, there's a lot to do on. Everybody makes a joke, there's nothing in Ohio. Ohio has had one of the largest numbers of presidents that come out of its state. So there's a number of presidential homes to visit on top of other items relating to presidencies, and a lot of military history actually out of Ohio. There's battlefields in Ohio that people probably in Ohio don't know about. I want to do what I call the Ohio Blitz, where I would do a circumnavigation of the state. We try to stop at Lake Erie to talk about the Battle of Lake Erie. Want to go over to Toledo to see the Fallen Timbers battlefield, and go see now I'll go see Fort Meigs. It's a massive War of 1812 fort. Cut through the state, go see the Battle of Piqua, which was a American native battle in the Revolution, and of course try to hit some presidential homes. Garfield's definitely one of those on the docket. I would love to go to see Garfield's house. And then, well, he has a couple. Garfield has a couple's houses, if I'm not mistaken. James A. Garfield. Yeah, he got the James A. Garfield National Historic Site is Mentor, Ohio. I swore he had something didn't he have something in New Jersey? Or I'm just... Oh, no, that's left is his, he did have a cottage, but it's not there anymore on Jersey Shore. That's what I thought. So you saw me in real time doing research. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. Yeah, definitely go check it out. Well, Pennsylvania's is Robert Fulton and John Peter Gabriel Muhlenberg. That's fair. That's very fair. Fulton, famously, he's going to end up developing what we know today as essentially. I know he did the steamboat. Says here he also built a diving boat, which was an early attempt at a submarine design. But yeah, he basically really helped with he basically pioneered the American steamboat industry. So Fulton was born in Pennsylvania, did a lot of his experimentation, if I'm not mistaken, on the Potomac River around Martinsburg, West Virginia today. I've seen like markers about it. At least that's what my brain's wanting to say. But again, my brain is very, very pitted at this hour. Okay, yeah, I was going to give you guys the link. Here it is. It's in the chat if you want to play around for yourself. Do recommend it. Definitely give you a lot more knowledge on who these people are. You know, there's definitely my point is there's a lot of statues in the U.S. Capitol building that they're being replaced because people are upset about those individuals' backgrounds. And the argument I've also heard being frowned, whereas people are obscure. So we're going to put the statue to another obscure figure. And I'm like, you're trading one obscure figure for another. Educate. Just putting up the monument doesn't go the whole way. It starts the conversation, but you got to keep the conversation rolling. All right. I'm just going to keep playing with this forever and ever. Hey, look, it's the George Washington statue. I got to see this one. Yeah, I got to see this one. Well, not this one, the Capitol. There's an identical one at Valley Forge. And yes, I promise the Valley Forge Retracing History will come out before the year is over. Knock on wood. You may have noticed occasionally I'll throw out a Philadelphia area American Revolution Retracing History. And people may be wondering, why is he running 4 hours back east? Well, I did a Revolution trip to Philadelphia area in March of this year. It was horrible weather. Horrendous. Horrible. Pouring freezing buckets and winds up to 50-mile-per-hour gusts. I couldn't be out there and speak, so I photographed as much as I could, and it's an edit and post situation. So the Brandywine video, the Paoli video, and when we eventually get a Valley Forge video, those are all from that weekend. It was a great weekend. Me and a humble collector had loads of fun doing that trip, but it was cold. It was the authentic Valley Forge weather. Many people think Valley Forge is heavy snowfall. No. It's freezing rain and mud, and I got it all. Great. It was fun. You can really tell I'm just out of it. So, and actually this does bring up why I'm so winded partly. So, this Saturday, there will be a new edition of Retracing History. It'll be a follow-up to last week's video, which was about the National D-Day Memorial. And if you've not had a chance, please go check it out. The National D-Day Memorial is a beautiful outdoor educational experience about what went into the Operation Overlord, the landings both on the beaches and by air into the Normandy coast. We're going to stay in Bedford, Virginia for this coming Retracing History, as it's actually about Bedford, Virginia's unit that fought on D-Day, which is known locally by them as the Bedford Boys. It's known officially as Company A, the 116th Infantry Regiment, 29th Infantry Division. And tragically, Bedford, Virginia has the distinction of having the highest casualty per capita of any individual American community during D-Day. They lost 19 of their residents outright, and a few more would die in the coming days and weeks of the invasion. So I think the final count for what the community lost in Operation Overlord in the liberation of northern France was about 22 or 23, and that was really just relating to the 116th Infantry. There were, of course, other servicemen and other parts, other feeders of the war. The Bedford Boys story is a powerful story about the price that we pay to preserve freedom, not just in the United States, but around the world. So that is going to be the topic for this coming edition of Retracing History. But then after, Retracing History is probably going to go on the back burner. We'll still post them when I have the time to go out and record sites, but my time is very limited at the moment. It is between a new job that I took, which I'm hoping is going to be able to finance this channel better, but it requires a lot more hours of work, a lot more energy put into the day job. And then we're also, whatever free time I have beyond the day job, it's going into college right now. Great. Yeah, I don't know if that was the smartest idea, taking up a new job while going into a college semester at the same time, but it's what I did. I'm partly regretting it. Not the new job part, the having to endure the college education system part. Yay. Down to just a few more semesters, and then I'll have the funny paper. And what I will do with the funny paper, I don't truthfully know. We have to see what the future holds for Readout Productions and the United States of America at large. So if Retracing History is going on the back burner, what does that mean for the channel? There will be live streams still. I will try to keep up to them with as frequently as possible, but be mindful if there is a week when I say there's going to be a live stream. It's mostly because I'm using my evening time to get classwork done. That being said, I am going to try to keep up with frequent uploads. I have a new idea I've been wanting to really cover in southwestern Pennsylvania, really covering military graves, veterans that were from southwestern Pennsylvania, and really talk about, ideally their story, if they left an anecdote about their involvement in a conflict. If I can't find it, at least try to reconstruct what company they were involved with, what conflict they saw, and what they may have experienced. So there are probably going to be short-length videos where I'm going to discuss veterans who are tied to southwestern Pennsylvania in some extent, from famous to unknown, maybe an individual, or maybe we just cover a whole cemetery. And we go out and document the graves, research all those from a conflict, and then talk about them in a video format. So I want to do more of that going into the fall, because this will be shorter length, and I love doing research. That's like my favorite. That's my relaxation. If you want me to relax, my therapy session, as it were, it's me just doing research on anything. I mean, you just saw it happen on the live stream, where I just went down a rabbit hole about people who have a monument in the U.S. Capitol building. I love just doing research and becoming more knowledgeable about the world we live in. So I'm definitely looking forward. I don't know if I have a name yet for this new series. We'll figure it out. Maybe I do lump it in as a Retracing History, but I want to do it its own separate thing. I also probably start doing more artifact highlights, since I'm going to be kind of staying in my neck of the woods for most of the foreseeable future. So going through my collection, which greatly needs a proper facility to be stowed in. So maybe talk about some stuff I have collected over the years. So yeah, there'll be new things coming. So the bad news, Retracing History will have to go on the back burner. Won't be as frequent. Good news, you're going to get new stuff. There's going to be new fun stuff. So content's going to be changing on here. So bear with us, as this is a very, very tumultuous time behind the scenes of Readout Productions. A lot of change happening, a lot more change coming down the pipeline. So, hold on to your butts, as Samuel L. Jackson would say. And Trippy writes, write a book. The funny paper makes you a more legit writer and people will listen to you. People like me, except not high. There have been a few ideas for a book. I actually did early research on a subject matter that I don't want to spoil now about, but you may know it if you've been a long-time follower of the channel. There is a subject matter that is part of Southwestern Pennsylvania history that's a bit obscure that I did a video for, and I'm still kind of just adding to my research. For the record, my research, I right over here are my binders for big and small projects. And there's a whole bunch of papers over here. Like somewhere over here is actually the Bedford Boys. This is the Bedford Boys research right here. I read Alex Kershaw's fantastic book about the Bedford Boys, which is the main source for this coming to Retracing History. I think there's like 10 pages worth of notes that I took. And then I don't even have this in the stack. I end up reading a memoir from one of the Bedford Boys. So sometimes my note taking is not ideal. It's all over the place. But yeah, over here we got binders. Not that one. That is a binder. I want to get one of the binders for the bigger projects. Like, is this it? Sort of. Yeah, this will give you an idea. Like, this is one of my binders. These are larger scale projects I did research on. Inside here is for my local historical society stuff I researched. I don't think you can. Yeah, I don't know if you can see. Stuff for the old Heterochromatia podcast when we did the comparison of Neon Genesis Evangelion The Wall. Speaking of Evangelion, when I did the Oscar Langley Soryu video, all that info about the aircraft carriers is tucked in here. Whole bunch of stuff about the Battle of Antietam, just because. And there was something I was working on about the Soviet space program that I had to shelve. I just haven't had time to really put together. So yeah, I love doing research. Love becoming more knowledgeable. There is probably enough stuff here for a book. Do I have the time to put it together in 2024? Probably not. 2025, let's start on it. Because there are subject matters that don't have a proper book out yet. That a small book, not a big book, but maybe 150 pages that I would like to publish. But that is after we get through November 5th. Remember the 5th of November. I really shouldn't be quoting V for Vendetta when referring to a real world election. No, it makes me look crazy, but it also shows how low of expectations I have for where the country's going. Very low trust in our government systems at the moment, regardless of which party you swing toward. I think there's just high distrust. I think the average American has high distrust. I think a healthy American citizen should have high distrust of the federal government at this point in time. All right. I probably should go to bed before I get myself into some real trouble with TubeU. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight to this chaotic stream. You're getting to see how Readout Productions operates on one brain cell left in a day. And that last brain cell just went out. So we're going to wrap this thing up. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Before you depart, be sure to hit the like button down below. Let the TubeU algorithm know that you like history buff, rambling in the late hours of the day, trying to get his sanity together, trying not to go on a rant about the American college system. If I actually took notes on all the video essays I've seen on history, art, science, and philosophy, I have a stack of notebooks reaching my ceiling. We're not to the ceiling yet here, but I got this desk for Christmas, this nice large flat desk. And the idea was so I could have a lot of area to work and write while being on the computer. It is already cluttered with notes and other stuff. Like I got one of my notebooks I take out when I go in the field. Hell, I got an Ohio pile for sure. I don't even know how this got on the desk. This is from last year. There's a retracing history about that, by the way. Ohio pile. Pennsylvania's Niagara Falls. I got this. And you never know when you need this. But we don't need to talk about that. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Sure to hit the like button on your way out. Let the algorithm know that you do want to see history-related content. You do want to have a conversation about our shared past, that you're not scared to talk about all history, both good and the bad. It's never usually good. History is never usually good in terms of what happened. But hey, we got to learn from it so we don't do that again. We don't want to do the bad thing. We don't want to do the funny. And be sure, if you've not done so, subscribe here to Readout Productions to follow us on our future adventures, because I don't know what the future holds for Readout Productions, but the only thing for sure is nothing is for sure. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to play the outro. We will see you. Well, hopefully I'll see you guys this Saturday for a new edition of Retracing History. And ideally, I'll see you on the next Uncut History. Let's play the music.
Springing to the goal of your brothers born before, shouting the battle cry of freedom, and we'll begin from the ranks with a million free more, shouting the battle cry of freedom, the union forever, hurrah, boys, hurrah, down with the traitors, up with the stars.